Good morning. This is teaching for women. So I know my brother already responded to you, and you should go read what he said to you. But I also wanted to respond, okay? Because your comment is that we believe that you have to join straight as the gate to be saved. And that's just not true, not whatsoever. But my brother did give you a lot of scripture. There is one group of people that will name themselves Jacob, okay, who Jehovah turns iniquity away from in the latter days. Jacob, his servant, who by the election of grace, Romans 11, he turns iniquity away from. They don't bow to the image of Baal. They're not like them in Jeremiah 10. They don't learn the ways of the heathen. They're not doing pagan idolatry. Revelations 2, they actually overcome. There's several things he has against the churches, right? The ways of the Nicolaitans, they go after the ways of Balaam. That's pagan idolatry. Jeremiah 10, Christmas. Jeremiah 7, Jeremiah 4-4, Easter, Queen of Heaven. That's the thing that Jehovah hates, idolatry. The sin unto death in 1 John 5. Little children, keep yourself from idols. The sin he dares not pray for. The whole Christian church, all 46,000 different denominations. Well, except Jehovah Witnesses don't do, that I know of, don't do the pagan holidays. But they all tolerate Jezebel. They haven't overcome, so they haven't received the hidden manna, the white stone, the song of Moses, the day dawning, the key of David, or the rod of iron to rule the nations. There's only one group that will be doing that, and that's those who enter into the work of the watchmen before tribulation, that the wrath of God is not appointed to. 1 Thessalonians 5 group. And they name themselves Jacob, who's the apple of his eye, Deuteronomy 32, because they know the song of Moses. There's only one of those groups. But will more people be saved? Yes, there's different harvests. But there's only one group that's not appointed the wrath of God, because they do the work. They give up their life. They forsake all to follow the Lamb, do the same works he did before the sixth seal kicks off. The ones that are plucked out, and Zechariah, I think it's Zechariah 3. So, and they see eye to eye. They gather often gather often together, and a book of remembrance was written onto them, so that's Malachi 3:16, Revelations 1. Blessed are they who read and do the things that are written in that book. That is the Malachi 3:16 group. They don't forsake the gathering. They enter into a Sabbath and call it a delight that Jehovah puts on the high hills, Isaiah 58. Because the Jeremiah 23 pastors, the lion wolves who scatter his flock, teach burden of the Lord in the churches. The commandments are burdensome when it's the love of God and they're not grievous. 1 John 5, verse 3. They don't say burden of the Lord. Burden of the Lord, burden of the Lord. For every man's word will be his burden. And they're not blaspheming the Father's name as the Jeremiah 23 pastors. Jeremiah 23 is an end days prophecy. The way you know it is because it says that the second Exodus, there's going to be another Exodus where Jehovah will gather his people from all the nations where he scattered them. The lost sheep of Israel, the 10 tribes that he divorced for pagan idolatry. That's what Romans 11 is about. the original branches that he cut off, the 10 tribes that he scattered that were devoured by the Gentiles, until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in, the apostasy of the church falling away in 2 Thessalonians 2, where they ask the man of perdition in their temple, who sits in their temple proclaiming to be God, and the Jeremiah 23 pastors, right? End time prophecy, the second Exodus, so much greater, they won't even mention the first Exodus when Jehovah brought them out of Egypt, out of bondage into the wilderness. They're prophesying in the name Baal. What name is that the pastors are preaching in today? Jesus Horsh Krishna, Jesus H. Christ. And the mark of the beast on every single church building in Revelation 13. Count the number of a beast, for it's a number of a man. 603 score 6. In the Greek, it's chi, ze, stigma, Christ pierced on cross. 666, Jesus. But the servants of God in Revelations 14 have the Father's name written on their foreheads, Jehovah, who keep the commandments of God. But those who serve the beast that cannot rest night or day have the beast name, Jesus, on their foreheads and the mark of his name. So how, what is it? Hebrews 10. Or sorry, not Hebrews 10. Romans 10. The people have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. It's referring to Hosea 6. They reject Jehovah's covenant, so he will reject them and their family because they've transgressed his covenants. They reject his law. They're ignorant, Romans 10, they're ignorant of Jehovah's righteousness, and they've gone to establish their own righteousness, commandments and traditions of men. They have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. Psalms 119, verse 172, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25, and the 10 commandments will be your righteousness, and is the righteousness of God that the servants have, that the servants will do. John 14 and John 15, abide in my love as I've abided in my love, or my Father's love. Keep my commandments as I kept my Father's commandments, and the commandments he gave were his Father's commandments. Right? So the servants will be doing that. They'll be keeping the commandments. They'll be teaching others to keep the commandments. They see eye to eye. And how beautiful are the feet of them who preach the good tidings of good things. And Romans 10, right? Because how will they hear on him who they have not heard? Because they're blaspheming Jehovah's name daily. It's quoting Isaiah 52. There's going to be a group. Jehovah will rise up, his watchmen who ate the roll in Revelations 10, because what he said to the porter in Mark 13, he said to all, watch, or Yeshua's coming on to them like a thief in the night. They ate the scroll, and Ezekiel 2 and 3, they enter into the role of the watchman, and 33. There's a group of people that will do that, right? One group of people that are not appointed the wrath of God, that overcome before tribulation and endure until the end, because they understand that they can fall. It's not once saved, always saved. Hebrews chapter 10, towards the end of the chapter. They're not the ones that turn back to perdition. They understand the parable of the seed sower, that people can receive the truth and be plucked out, scorched, or go back to the ways of the world, the lusts of this world, and they can fall. And then his spirit will have no pleasure in them. It will depart. Will other people be saved? 100%, because of the work of the watchmen. But if they walk after the commandment that was delivered unto them, after they learn the truth of the royal law in James 2, Matthew 22, 39, verse 39, to love your neighbor as yourself, the royal law, where there's nothing written against you if you fulfill the royal law, love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19:15-18, to basically watch over your brother's soul. Do not hate him in your heart, but anyways rebuke them when they sin. The role of the watchman in Ezekiel 2:3-33, where Yeshua called all to watch, everyone to wash each other's feet, to watch over each other's soul and rebuke sin out of them. If they walk after hearing that commandment and they refuse to do it, that's what it means to walk after the commandment. They walked away from the commandment. They're going in tribulation. People will still be saved in tribulation. They'll realize that there was a prophet in Ezekiel 33 amongst them that told them the truth because of the work of the watchmen, proclaiming and publishing his name in Isaiah 52, publishing salvation, Yeshua, because they're all blaspheming his name, and there's only one name under heaven that you'll be saved by, is quoting Joel 2, and that's capital, all capital, Lord, which is Jehovah. Those that have the Father's name written on their foreheads. And the Son came in the Father's name. Yeshua's Yah, salvation. So, there'll be many people saved, but there's only one group. He preferred the first fruits. One group that will be doing the work before tribulation, who surnames themselves Jacob, his servant, who the wrath of God is not appointed to, and they see eye to eye. They're not divided. The scriptures tell you, you are not to be divided. You're not to accept any other doctrine, because there's one doctrine, 2 John 1. And don't bid them Godspeed. They rebuke in the gate, they rebuke the fables sharply, so others will fear and be sound in the faith. They don't accept false doctrines, because when you preach false doctrine, you steal your inheritance from your neighbor. John 10, there's only one door. You cannot steal your way into heaven any other way than the truth. The Christian church is divided 46,000 different times. They don't see eye to eye. They don't preach the same doctrine. They preach commandments and traditions of men, but they've all turned the grace of God into lasciviousness, Jude 1. They've turned the people onto fables, 2 Timothy 3 and 4. They lie to the people. They steal their neighbor's inheritance by feeding them lies, telling them they don't need to keep the commandments of God. They can fill their vessels with swine's flesh and broth, abominable things. They're children of perdition, 2 Thessalonians 2, that opposite themselves of Jehovah, who have the man of perdition sitting in their heart, Jesus, and bear the mark of his name. And it tells you that their hearts are hard-hearted, and they love it that way. They don't want Yeshua, Isaiah 30. They cover with the covering, but not of Jehovah's Spirit, so they can add sin to sin. They say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not to us right things, prophecy to us deceits. Let the Holy One of Israel not stand before us. They don't want Yeshua. They want their hippie Jesus. So 2 Thessalonians 2, because they will not receive the love of the truth, so that they might be saved, he gives them over to Satan, puts them under a strong delusion, and puts Satan at their right hand. They want it that way because they reject the truth. They're hard-hearted people. They will not hearken unto me they will not hearken unto you, because they will not hearken unto me. I will make your forehead hard against that stiff-necked nation. The role of the watchman. So no, you don't have to be a part of straightasthegate.net to be saved, and we have never ever said that. We work night and day to try to pluck people out of the fire so they have the opportunity to save their family before tribulation. Because when tribulation occurs and Satan and a third of his angels are casted down over Ephraim, America, men's hearts are going to fail at the sight of what is coming. It is going to be Isaiah 3, Isaiah 13, those Jezebel women. Their men are going to fall by the sword. Their children will be dashed to pieces. And they'll be ravished. If they overcome that, there's going to be famine. And then the women, the parents are going to be eating their parents and their children. It's not a pretty sight. It's horrible and horrific. And if you don't do the work now, he's coming on to you like a thief in the night. You're going in tribulation, and you'll have to be doing what Straight as the Gate is doing now in tribulation, and you'll have to most likely go to the death. But you'll deliver your own soul. And when you're in tribulation, you no longer receive the promise to the servants that you can save your whole family. That's the promise to the servants that do the work before. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 14. They, like Noah, one who was able to save his whole family. But there's going to be a group that gets raised up in tribulation that are going to be rebuking as well, and they're going to most likely have to go to the death. 1 Thessalonians 4 group. And then you have the example of the thief on the cross. Right before he died, he fulfilled the royal law. He rebuked the other thief. He was sorrowful for his sins. He knew he deserved to be up there. He did not deny the Son, and he fulfilled the royal law, so there was no law against him. Right before his death, right? He rebuked. There's different harvests. We have never ever said we're the only ones that are going to be saved. We actually hope there's other groups out there like us that we just haven't found yet. But we can't find anyone doing what we're doing now. We can't find anyone that mourns for Zion, the blessed, the Beatitudes, who are being persecuted for the righteousness of God, the 10 Commandments, who are fulfilling the royal law, who keep the commandments and not a polluted Sabbath, who are publishing his name, who are surnaming themselves. We haven't found any other group doing that. We surely hope to see other people doing that, but there's no lone wolf in the scriptures, because there's going to be one group that are going to be talking often to one another, who see eye to eye, who are sharing their talents so he can quicken them, washing each other's feet, for he even sent the disciples out by twos. We're really hoping to find people like us, but another group, but we haven't found one. So I hope that answers your question, because we work really hard trying to find the lost sheep, and it's by the grace of God that we do it, the conviction of God that we do it, because Jehovah is rising up his own people. We just plant the seeds, and he is the one that does the increase, not us. We give all glory to the Father because he wrote he will gather his people. But he has servants that he has called, and there's many called but few choose to do the work. We just have chosen to do the work. And those who have a humble and contrite heart that are really seeking the truth, Jehovah puts the servants at straight as the gate in front of them so that they can see and read, and he can show them, these people are my children. These people are my sons and daughters, and they're telling you the truth, so they can read the scriptures and see. So they can also pick up their staff of authority. John 14:12, do the same works as Son did. So I hope you hear this. I hope you read the scriptures I gave you and the ones that my brother did. And then check us out, straightastthegate.net. We have women's spaces every Monday through Thursday. I think it's 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I think that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, and then we have Sabbath. Sabbath is today, actually. So, and it's the same Zoom link on the main website every single time. We have many spaces so people can learn and hear the truth and get their questions answered, go through the scriptures, because we don't define scripture with our vain imaginations. We are Bereans. We establish a matter with 2 to 3 witnesses. We read precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, because the scriptures are constantly quoting itself, so you can build an understanding of what these idioms and parables mean. That's how Jehovah's preserved his word. That's why not everyone will have ears to hear and eyes to see. They have to have that humble and contrite heart to actually want to obey God and do the Father's will and not their own will. And almost every single one of these people that are as straight as the gate doing the work, they have cried out to Jehovah for their truth, or for his truth. And then you put straight as the gate in front of them. I did that. He worked on me for 2 months trying to show me that his son's name wasn't Jesus, and what his name was. He worked on me for 2 months. And then he put 2 of the straight as the gate people in front of me. I didn't understand one of the sisters, so he put a brother in front of me that spoke my language. Brought everything full circle that Jehovah had been trying to show me for freaking 2 months. Yeah. And we have many brothers and sisters who have similar stories. So if you are being pricked, check out our site. We are here to find Jehovah's people and give them the truth. That's all we're here to do, so they have the opportunity to enter into life, so they have a chance to save their families. That's what we desire. So, no, to answer your question, no, we do not believe that we are the only ones going to be saved. Why would we be working night and day to wake up his people if we believed we're the only ones going to get saved? How else is Jehovah going to put his truth out there unless they be sent? Romans 10, quoting Isaiah 52. And I'll leave you with this, okay? Hosea 2, there is going to be another group of people that never get the opportunity to hear Jehovah's truth, that he's going to hold in ignorance, that he'll take into the wilderness. But that's not you. You've heard the truth. So, more people will be saved because Jehovah's mercy, we don't know how far it goes. But there will be a group that he holds in ignorance that he's going to save anyways. But the people that have heard his truth, that are in tribulation, this is why, if they're stiff-necked and hard-hearted, we give them Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 29 through 31. When they find themselves in tribulation in the latter days, turn back to Jehovah's voice. Deuteronomy 4 and 5, Jehovah gave the 10 Commandments with his voice at the rock of Horeb. It's an idiom. Turn back to the 10 Commandments, your first love, in Revelations 2, the first works that I've been talking about in this video. That's why we do what we do, so more people will be saved when they're in tribulation. Because he'll have mercy on them. Because Jehovah has mercy on thousands of them who love him and keep his commandments. Deuteronomy 5, Deuteronomy chapter 9, or chapter 7, verse 9 and 10, Daniel 9, verse 4.